The first thing I want to do is say I'm looking forward to you coming to Ireland.
Thank you.
Again, coming back. Here we are, by the way, in the absolute splendour of the Theatre Royal Drury Lane.
Yes, indeed. Isn't it wonderful?
Which is nice, isn't it nice?
Yeah.
Now, do you still, or have you ever, really missed the fact of having Hank and the lads with you? Because the Shadows were very much an integral part of you. You were all one unit, really, weren't you?
That's a very difficult question for me to answer. And the older I get, the more I get the question thrown at me. And I don't want to upset or hurt anybody. But the answer is no, I don't miss them. But I do miss them personally. You know, it's... I mean, they would understand this. I mean, Hank and Bruce and Brian, I know them well enough for them to realize that, for instance, they have been held back. These guys are far more capable of doing wonderful musical things than their public will allow them. Now, my big question is, why is it that our public, because we shared the same public, permitted me to move into Devil Woman and a whole renaissance time for me, and yet would not let them change? The Shadows still have to go out and do what they've always done. I mean, they don't mind. I think they quite enjoy it, really. They had to get together, camaraderie, and have a lot of laughs, and the crowd love it. So it's fun for them. But for me, you see, I have a contemporary career, so I've had to go ahead and find different guys, work with different musicians, get into the high-tech scene. And so I don't miss them on that musical level. But, I mean, often on stage, I think to myself, I can remember a time when Hank and Bruce would be just behind me, and they'd often come up and we'd jibe across from mic to mic.
And doing the steps as well.
Yeah, we'd do the little steps together. Yeah. And, but the main thing was the chat. Even now, when we've ever had reunion concerts, we automatically flop into being rude to each other in the nicest way, because you can only really be rude to people you love.
That's true.
And so that I miss a great deal. But I mean, they know what I mean when I say that I don't miss them musically. Of course I miss them, but musically speaking, I've got a wonderful band of musicians, and they do, because I mean, what I have to ask of a band these days is for them to do almost the impossible. They have to play authentically Living Doll, swing into Devil Woman, drop down to Miss You Nights, play extreme pop like We Don't Talk Anymore, heavy metal like Thief in the Night. I mean, it's the whole gambit. So, and they do it all. They're wonderful musicians.
They've got to be rock solid to do that for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
When the young ones came along and you started with one of my favourite actors, which was Robert Morley, was that a logical progression for Cliff Richard to move into movies like Elvis Presley had done in America?
I suppose it was. I'd seen, obviously Elvis was a bit before me, not much, but just a bit. And
yes, he was ages before you.
well, I remember hearing him when I was 14, but then he was only about 18 at the time. Yeah. Films became the natural thing for rock stars to get into, because, for instance, my first movie was called Serious Charge, a black and white B movie. But the producer said, there's a character in the movie, it's a very tiny role, let's go. I found this out afterwards. Let's go for someone who's an up-and-coming rock singer. Well, Move It was just climbing up the charts. When I went in and met these people, and they said, oh yes, he looks okay. And I was up and coming, my record was moving up, so I signed. Out of that film, of course, came Living Doll. That B feature became a main A feature because Living Doll made #1 in the charts, and so therefore there was this poor little idiot actor who'd never done anything before in his life in a major movie and turning out to be the attraction for the movie. Although there were far greater actors in it, Andrew Ray, Anthony Quayle, Sarah Churchill. I mean, terrific actors, but the public were just interested in coming to see this young idiot who sang Living Doll.
Do you miss the fact that you only did a few movies? I mean, would it be nice to do more?
Yes, but I can't say that I miss it, because I like what I've got. I like my career, you know. I mean, the more I mix with actors, the more I realise that really, as much as I have enjoyed acting, I don't think it's ultimately for me. They must get something else from their career that gives them that boost. For me to go out front as an individual and face a crowd, because remember, I've done some plays, and I know what the theory of it is. I'm not a great actor, of course not, but when I did Time, for instance, I was very aware that you ignore that and you perform that way. And you rely on other people's performances to take you to another height or whatever. When you do a concert, it's that way. And there ain't nowhere else to look except that way. And I love that. I love that. Because it's terrifying. You become terribly vulnerable, which actors would understand. And yet there's a power there too. You know, you can do things in front of an audience and carry them along into a little fantasy world of laser lights or whatever you're using at that particular time. So, you know, I just love it.